If you go back 20 years ago, Hurricane Andrew in 1992 on what was, I should say, a low hurricane year. This year, Klotzbach came out today and said we'll probably have low numbers as well. Right. The big question I want to ask you, Bryan, is where are we in terms of the hurricane season? I mean, are we better off or worse?
Well, since Andrew, I think the net is unfortunately that we're worse. Now, in the system, many things are better. The government systems are much better. FEMA's much better. And a lot of that is an indirect or a direct result from Hurricane Andrew in terms of the system. But when we were on TV that night 20 years ago,
right.
I mean, here's just an example of one of the things that's a lot worse. Is we were on television, but most people were listening on their transistor radio. Who has a transistor radio anymore? Our society is so internet and cell phone dependent, and that wouldn't have worked in Hurricane Andrew, right? The cell towers went out. The internet system, if it had existed then, which it didn't, would have gone out. Nobody would have gotten anything on their phone, right? On their internet dependent device. Besides that, the damage that we saw in Hurricane Andrew, if you recall, was all that wind damage, right? Now we have so many more high rises, they're so much more expensive, and so many more people piled near the coast. So in spite of the fact we have much better systems, I think the net of it is that really as a society, we're more vulnerable to hurricanes than we ever were.
Yeah, all right, just take Andrew. What was a $23 billion disaster? Today would be about a $43 billion disaster. So, right. You know, you just exponentially that all over the place and all over the coastline. Where do we need to go? What do we need to do to make it better?
Well, we need to have every single building, whoever congregates people in a high-rise building at the coast, part of that congregation needs to be where are those people going to go? Because unfortunately in Florida, people aren't from there. They don't necessarily have friends in town to go stay with outside the evacuation zone. So when you pile a huge building, 50 stories, 60 stories in the evacuation zone, you've got a lot of people that have to go somewhere, and you can't just tell them to go to a shelter in a city they don't know. So this is a monstrous problem along the coast as new people move in without roots there, without family, and the developers that develop those buildings don't have that responsibility. I think that's got to be part of hurricane planning.
All right, still a long way to go. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate that. We'll be talking to you, obviously, during the hurricane season.